everybody. Welcome to the show. The show is called The Box Seat Show, the show where we talk sports. I'm your host, Frank Holder, with comedian known as Fig. Talent should be here shortly. Rodney Perry should be too. The show is, let's see, when we talk sports, and these comedians who join the show, they've been all around the world. They've been in comedy shows, comedy film festivals, traveled the world, and everything else, all that good stuff. You know, all the stuff that you expect comics to actually do. So with that being said, Fig, how you doing today, brother?
Hey, man, I'm doing good, man. I'm looking forward to the top dogs at the end of the show. So, that's what we do.
So anyway, without being further ado, let's see. In the COVID report, it's absolutely nothing to talk about today because everything I talked about, I saw today that I reported about yesterday. So that's a great thing. In other news, let's jump off with this. The first thing is that Tiger Woods made some news last night after we went off the air. The interesting thing was they said the sheriff's department said they found an empty pharmaceutical bottle, and doesn't really mean much, but the reason why it's making news is because when he woke up after the incident, first medics were on site. He thought he was in Florida while he was in LA. Now, you can look at it as a couple of ways. One is trying to make news, or two, it's just like, hey, he travels so much and there's no really big deal about it. Because, when you travel a lot, I mean, honestly, when I travel a lot, especially before COVID, when I woke up, sometimes I'd be like, okay, what city am I in? Now, it's not a big deal, but I'm trying to figure out why it made the news. But since it made the news, I decided I'd have to still at least report and throw it out there. Fig, what's your thoughts on that?
Man, I think it's a little fishy, Frank. I mean, the first report that came out is that there was no alcohol, no narcotics, nothing in his system. There was nothing there. Now all of a sudden they found a prescription, like a medicine vial or whatever. Like, that don't make no sense. And man, sometimes I fall asleep in my house, and when I wake up, I don't know what room I'm in. Mm-hmm. I mean, this dude was in a horrific accident where he shattered his leg. He was unconscious. He hit his head. So just because you don't know where you are, he could have had a concussion. You disoriented. He was doing 80 miles an hour and hit a damn tree. He lucky to be alive, let alone know where he is.
Yeah. At the end of the day, the problem is, I think the problem is that they're trying to find something. You know what I mean? When they have an athlete, they try to find a situation and they try to sit there and say, hey, what's good? What's going on? Well, what happened? What had happened? I thought it was fishy.
The thing that bugs me is that they searched the vehicle. Clearly, they did a thorough. I mean, the vehicle was only so damn big. Where was this thing at before? Like when it first happened, this thing that they supposedly found, all of a sudden they didn't find nothing. They looked, they searched, they looked for the car. Now all of a sudden they found something. All this time later, now all of a sudden they found something. Yo, man, I don't like it. It don't smell fishy. It sounds like a lie. Because the first thing they did is they checked them in the very beginning. They checked the car. They searched the car. There was nothing there. Now, all of a sudden, where did they find it? Where did they locate it? Like was there a hidden compartment in the car that we didn't know nothing about? Like, what? How did you find it all of a sudden? Yeah, lies, right. lies.
The funny thing is they were trying very hard to find something for a criminal investigation. You know what I mean? That at the end of the day, that's all they were doing. I can't even say. I'm sick and tired of talking about color and this stuff but stuff faces you every single day that it's so obvious that it's nothing but. You know what I mean? You got to talk about it if that's what it is. I mean, am I wrong? Like, if that's what it is, that's what it is, right? I mean,
it just sounds crazy to me. It doesn't make any sense. I don't believe 1 minute of it, because if they would have found something, that would have been the first. That was the first thing that they looked for.
Right.
When they searched the vehicle, the first thing they looked for, they did. How many officers, how many officials did news conferences talking about they didn't find anything? I mean, what was it, invisible? I mean, what was the nature of your search that all of a sudden you coming up with something that wasn't there, 2 weeks ago when the accident? What was the accident? What was it, 2-3 weeks ago? Now
all of a sudden, about 3 weeks. It's been like 3 weeks.
How did you find something 3 weeks after that wasn't there before? Either one of two things. Either somebody planted it, or you making up a bold-faced lie, because that's the first thing they do when you have an accident. The first thing they do, they search the vehicle. They look for, any kind of illegal narcotics. They look for any kind of open containers that you may have been drinking alcohol or whatever. It's a crack of dawn. He was going to a video shoot. You know what I mean? With Oprah Winfrey and some other people with some big campaign. He was on his way to early in the morning. He lost control of the car. He was going too fast to navigate the turn, and he ended up crashing the vehicle. Maybe he was distracted or something like that on this sharp turn. It's a place where it's known to have multiple car accidents at that particular spot where he had the accident. He probably didn't know the road, going too fast, lost control of the vehicle, and hit a tree, almost killed himself. They searched the vehicle in the beginning, they found nothing. Now all of a sudden they found something, and they did a toxicology on him. So they tested his blood. They went through his system, and they found nothing in his system. So even if you found a bottle, no matter what you found, there was nothing in the system. So why are we even talking about this?
I think what happened is he was driving. If you're not familiar with LA driving, here's the thing that a lot of people who saw this report not familiar with. Those curves sneak up on you. You know what I mean? They sneak up on you real quick. And as an LA driver, I can tell you firsthand, it may not seem like the curve. If you come up on a curve, sometimes they don't seem like they're going to turn quickly, but they can turn rather quickly, almost like a street turn.
Yes. Yeah. We both know that LA. And let me tell you something. It's not. They talking about, he was driving 80 miles an hour. Listen, if you ever lived in LA, there is nobody that doesn't drive at least 80 miles an hour in LA on any road. So that's not a shock to me either. I mean, I've never been on a highway where people wasn't going 80. And if you're not going 80 miles an hour, they damn near going to run you over. What are you talking about?
Right. All right, let's move on, man. Let's talk about the next subject I got to talk about. Next subject I got to talk about is LA Dodgers pitcher. His name is Trevor Bauer. He's under investigation this morning because as when he walked on the mound yesterday and everything else, he had doctored the baseball. Literally 2 days after Major League Baseball said they're getting ready to come down with the report. They're getting ready to come down and start coming down on pitchers who they've noticed for years have been doctoring the baseball with scuffs, all kinds of different things, making the ball sticky, just doing all different types of things to this and everything else to the baseball. Major League Baseball said they're going to come down hard on people who do this and everything else. So when you hear about this, Fig, what's your thoughts on somebody who blatantly said, I don't care, I'm going to do what I'm going to still do?
Leave him alone. Leave him alone. Anything that makes baseball more exciting, I'm all for it. Listen, I don't care where you doctor the baseball, doctor the bat. I don't care what you do to make baseball more exciting. I was watching the video this morning where a pitcher threw the ball. It was a foul ball. The ball bounced off the ground and hit the umpire in the groin. The most exciting thing I've seen in baseball in years. I was laughing my behind off. It was. I didn't want it to happen to me, but the fact that happened to somebody else was hilarious. And that was the most entertaining thing that I've seen in baseball since I can remember. I don't care what you got to do to make baseball better. The best time that we had in baseball is when everybody was hitting home runs.
Okay. Let me ask my man, Mr. Amir Sealy, who joined the show. Amir, how you doing?
What's going on? How's everything, gentlemen? Happy Friday.
Same to you. Same to you, brother. Same to you. When you hear that Trevor Bauer, LA Dodger pitcher, got caught yesterday on the mound for doctoring the baseball, what was your thoughts literally 2 days after Major League Baseball said, hey, we're going to come down and crack down on people who are doctoring the baseball, especially pitchers? When you hear that, what do you say? What do you think?
It's so fun to Fig's point. I'm with Fig in this regard. I think that baseball is one of those sports that, we wish was more exciting overall. I know if you're a baseball fan, you see it differently than, those of us who are not baseball fans, but it's not exciting enough sometimes for you to really enjoy. So if they're doctoring things, if they're doing things, quote unquote, that are supposedly illegal, obviously we don't want to see anybody do anything illegal. But whatever you could do to at least amp up the energy of watching the sport and enjoying the sport the way that we enjoy some other sports does seem to need something. But I think that, doing anything illegal, we don't need that in the game. We don't need that in the game because there are too many young people watching. And we don't want the young people to, pick up those habits.
There's a lot of controversy with Major League Baseball. Hey, Amir, turn your phone this way. Turn your phone the other way, bro, so you can take up the full screen. Let me ask you guys this. Staying in Major League Baseball, the Mets last night made some news, too, because at the end of the day, what Michael Confronto did last night. Now, I didn't see this live. I saw this on the replay this morning. He leaned in case you didn't watch, He leaned in the strike zone, and the bases were loaded, and he leaned in and got called for a hit pitch and walked in the winning run. Everybody was upset about that. Even the Mets' own announcers were upset. And he plays for the Mets. You know what I mean? They were upset that he leaned in the strike zone because they think it breaks the integrity of the game. Now, I understand that point. You know what I mean? It does to a certain degree. But like Fig said, it does make it kind of exciting. So, you know what I mean? What you think, Fig? What you thought?
Yeah, man, I thought the general consensus was in sports is like, if you're not cheating, you're not trying to win. I mean, what did he do? He leaned in a little bit. That's
right.
all he did. He leaned in. Look, my wife got to stop giving out family secrets. He leaned in a little bit, man. That's it. He just leaned in. He got in on the elbow. Look, how many times? Look, how could that be illegal when a pitcher goes out of his way to throw the ball where it just grazes you and you got to get out of the way? So if the pitcher can make you lean back, why as a batter you can't lean in?
Well,
if you don't want him to be able to lean in, then stop throwing the ball so damn close.
No,
you know
at the end of the day, the pitcher, you're supposed to respect the strike zone. They've been respecting the strike zone since the game's been invented. You're supposed to respect the strike zone. He didn't respect it. He leaned in the strike zone. And I saw he did. He did lean in the strike zone. He did.
Listen, how many times a pitcher how many times a pitcher hit a player and he went nowhere near in the strike zone?
Yeah, but that's not the point. The point is
make baseball exciting again.
Okay. Hitting people is not the way to do it, though. Hitting people, hit the ball, not the people get hit by the ball. I mean, what you think?
Well, you know what? I was actually watching the game, believe it or not. We had the game on here at the job, and some of my staff are big Mets fans. We split down the middle. We Yankees fans and Mets fans in my job. So when it happened, I saw it right away, and I was like, wow, he leaned in. Look, here's what I do know. No matter what sport we speak of, there's always plays that are questionable, meaning there's something that a player may do to give himself an advantage.
Right.
Can we really be upset when it comes to baseball and the fact that a baseball player did something the same as like when we see cats shoot a jump shot and they kick out their legs so that they can, still get free throws? So much of the game is little nuances that most of us don't pay attention to, if and unless it affects our team and our ability to, move on or advance. This is early in the baseball season. I don't know why everybody's so upset. It's not like this was a game that's going to force somebody in or out of the playoffs. We're still early into the season. I don't know. Like I said, I get the whole idea. You don't want this to, continue, but it's too early in the season for people to be this upset about it.
Yeah,
that's how I feel about it.
Wasn't it like game number 5 of 182? I don't know.
Listen, all I'm saying is we're in April and baseball don't get excited until October. So like what are we talking about? Baseball don't get excited until we close to Thanksgiving and Christmas. Like, listen, you lucky that you got fans watching, let alone anything else. I'll say, you want to make baseball exciting? Change what the ball is made out of. Keep it the same color, but make it rubber, like the handballs that we used to play with in the park. That's what make it rubber.
No. What you do is you give the boys metal bats. That'll make it exciting. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Bats. That'll make it exciting immediately because wooden bats, man. A
metal bat and a rubber ball. Now that's a sport that I could get into. The pink balls we used to play handball with. That's right. With the little red
little red writing on it.
That won't work. That won't work. You know why? You know why that won't work? Because the base hit, normally when it hit bounce, it'll bounce out the park.
That's exciting.
Yeah. Remember as a little kid, you'd be trying to hit those choppers. Those choppers will be real this time around. You'd be like, wait a minute.
Yeah. I'd hate to be chasing that ball.
Hey, listen, we did it in the street. That's what we used to play snoop ball with. We played with it, and we're not professionals. We was kids. We talk about professionals. You mean you can't catch this with a glove? We used to catch that with our bare hands.
Yeah, especially if you're getting millions and millions of dollars for it.
Yeah, let's make this nice for people to watch again.
All right, let's move on. Let's move on. The next thing I want to talk about is there was an emergency hearing this morning for Deshaun Watson, and it looked like Deshaun Watson and his attorney won that part when they were saying that they needed to find out the name of the woman, and the judge ordered one of the women. The judge ordered that a woman must reveal her identity and face her accuser because Deshaun Watson's attorney was stating that she was killing the reputation and trying to kill the reputation of his client. And I absolutely love that fact, because now if you're going to accuse somebody, the person needs to at least face their accuser. You know what I mean? You want to keep accusing them, and you can't hide in the shadows. You know, it's like throwing a rock and hiding your hand. You know what I mean? That's the way I look at it. So, Fig, when you hear that the judge ordered that, it definitely shifts stuff and is going to expedite Deshaun Watson's case, in my opinion. When you hear that news, what you think?
Man, listen, it's almost like, you know, it's like somebody said that you did something, but you did something to them, but you don't know who the person is. You may not never even met this person. Like, how do we establish the fact that you did anything to the person and you don't know who it is or what kind of person this is, what kind of personality they got, what's their history, what's their background, why would they be saying this about you? What if I never met this person? What if I don't even know who this person is? You can't just blanketly just have somebody come out and be accusing you a whole bunch of different things and you don't even know who the people is. Anybody could do that to anybody. It doesn't have to be Deshaun Watson. Somebody could come out and say Frank Holder stole my idea, or Fig did this, or Amir did that, and we don't know who it is. It's like, I don't know this person. You know, I don't know nothing about them. How is that even possible?
Well, legally, Fig, you can do that. That's the problem. That's the issue that we have. Yeah, that's the problem we have with this. Amir, what you think about this when you hear about Deshaun Watson being able to finally face his accuser?
Well, you know, since the beginning of this, you know, situation, we've all, you know, felt that there was a lot of, you know, things that seemingly don't add up or, you know, seem a bit strange about the whole, you know, ideology of what's going on. In all fairness, I think that it's wonderful that, you know, his team was able to make some strides and hopefully get, you know, some points made on his behalf. I mean, they still have a long way to go, obviously, to get to the bottom of this situation. But at least it looks as though, you know, there is some leeway for him to be able to get some of the points back for, you know, from his standpoint, as far as his accuser or accusers. And, you know, hopefully we can, again, get to the bottom of this, you know, relatively soon. I think this whole thing is taking way too long. And I feel for Deshaun Watson, as well as, you know, the fans and the football, you know, because we want to see guys in spaces and in places that not only do they feel comfortable, but that they can flourish. That's the whole purpose of having these guys, you know, be in those places. If they can't do that, then really, what are we talking about? It doesn't make a difference, accusers or not, you know?
I think the thing is, both of you guys made a great point, but I think also that we should at least say this too, that Deshaun Watson is now having the ability to be able to not only face his accusers, expedite the case. Because if the judge said that, I think the next thing is now that they can expedite the case. And like I said yesterday, I don't know if you saw the show yesterday, Amir. If it seemed like that Deshaun Watson's attorney and Deshaun Watson wants to be able to expedite this case to get this thing in front of and behind him because they feel extremely confident that he's innocent in all the charges. Because like we said yesterday, if you're guilty, you're not so, and you know you did it, you're not such a rush to get the case to happen. You know what I mean? But if you're the attorney and you're like, listen, let's expedite this case so we can hurry him get in front of you. I think he's tired of the character assassination. I think he's ready to say,
two things, Frank. One is that the sad part about it is somebody could come out and accuse you of doing something that you didn't really do. And if they're found to not be telling the truth, or a person that lied, there's no consequence. You know what I mean? They don't have to pay a price for coming out and lying on you and saying that you did something that you didn't do. And two is, in America, we know that you need money in order to get justice. If Deshaun Watson wasn't a person of means and he was an ordinary citizen, he would not have the amount of money necessary to hire an attorney to be able to argue his case, and he would have been made guilty in a court of public opinion. So many people go to jail or have to face charges simply because they don't have enough money to hire legal defense, and we know defense costs money.
Bro, that's a whole nother hour for a show we don't have. Like, I understand that much, another hour. But I will say this. Deshaun Watson's accusers did not want to come forward because they have been receiving a whole lot of death threats. So somebody could counteract what you're actually saying right now, Fig. But I understand your point. Let's move on a minute and talk about, remember yesterday, I reported yesterday about the former NFL player named Philip Adams, who killed 5, almost killed 6 and then he killed himself yesterday. Well, the news came out. The news came out yesterday who the name of the people were and everything else. He killed. Let's see, the guy's name he killed was Dr. Robert Leslie, his wife, and his grandchildren. Now, people last night said that it could be CTE. Looks like it's more like CTE, but something else came up too. I was thinking, and I heard the news last night. I think I read it on the wall. I don't know. I think I read it somewhere, maybe the Wall Street Journal or something. This might help the NFL allow for legislation to be allowed for weed and cannabis to be expedited, because it's been found that cannabis basically counteracts CTE and other CTE-like symptoms. So the NFL now is seeming like they might take a step up forward in helping to get cannabis legislation passed in all the states. You know what I mean? Because we all know cannabis is not allowed in every state. You know what I mean? To sell, recreational, all the other stuff, and medicinal and anything like that. So, Fig, when you hear that, because I was talking about yesterday with you guys, that, the NFL needs to do something, and I did not expect to hear anything about cannabis and cannabis-related stuff, but maybe they are going to do something finally. You know what I mean? Maybe they're going to find. When you hear this, Fig, what you think?
Well, look, I can't imagine why cannabis would be illegal anyway. If you allow any kind of substance to be used, alcohol is made legal, but there are more alcohol related deaths, as far as like car accidents and stuff like that, alcohol related death incidents and stuff like that. And very rarely do you hear about something that's related to cannabis. So if it's found to have medicinal, if it could be used medicinally and it has benefits to people who are suffering from whatever it is, because I heard it works for other things other than CTE. I've never heard the CTE thing, but I know it does work for other things. People do swear by it. And if it can help, I guess if you can manage it like any other narcotic or any other drug that people give to you for whatever ailment, then why not? I mean, if it's not hurting you, then and it can help you, then why not legalize it, at least medicinally?
Amir, what you think?
I think that what Figs says is a great point. I also think that we are in a time and in a day and age where hopefully not only through medicines, be they whatever they are. To your point, Frank, we get to a point where the NFL takes a good hard look at what a lot of these NFL players really have to deal with. I was on part of the show yesterday, and I typed in the comments. Football is a brutal sport. When you really think about it in its true essence, it's a brutal sport. So this is grown men crashing into each other, at slighter miles per hour, but these are big guys. And there is a joy or a euphoria that seems to trigger sometimes. Guys make a great sack or they make a great hit. You might, make somebody else dizzy or whatever the case may be. So we got to think about that. The imbalance in what happens to your body, obviously, during those moments over the long haul have to take an effect. And because they have to take an effect, then we have to really think about what that and how that affects the person. And over the long haul, whether or not that is a great thing or a bad thing. Obviously, we're seeing a lot more of the bad than we're seeing the good. But the point is, I think that it's great that the NFL, and if this proves to be true, is taking strides in order to help the players over the long haul. Because once your NFL career is over, it's over. There's nothing else we can do about that.
Yeah, and I think the NFL is literally getting ready to try to figure out something, because they might be getting tired of stuff like this smearing their shield. Let's face it, the NFL is the NFL and the NFL players is a gladiator sport. Overall, yes. It's a gladiator sport. These guys are running head on to each other. At 100 miles an hour, as fast as they can run, they're running, and then they're hitting each other, right on the head directly. This player, his name Phillip Adams, he was defensive end. He was hitting people on the head. He might have had CTE since high school. Nobody's going to know until they do his autopsy. So if he did have some kind of concussion, several concussions and stuff like that, it should have been diagnosed a lot earlier. And if it had been, and marijuana, cannabis had been legal, this whole incident would have never happened. He'd still be alive. The grandfather and the doctor and his wife and his grandchildren would all be still alive right now. Those are facts.
I think yesterday I was watching something where it was said that he had 2 concussions within a single football season that while he was playing, and this has another benefit to it, Frank. A lot of players, or a few players, have been suspended for cannabis use. This would get rid of the suspensions, and the NFL owners fortunately have the cachet and the money, and they're spread out across the country enough where they can influence legislation. So we're talking about NFL owners are basically the top 1% of America, and we know if you're an American and have any sense, those are the people who really influence the laws and the decisions made across this country. So they're in a very good position to be able to make this happen, as opposed to anybody else.
Look at players like Junior Seau, who killed himself and killed somebody. Look at Josh Gordon. First couple of suspensions Josh Gordon had supposedly was because of marijuana use. And of course, the wide receiver who played for Cincinnati Bengals, I forgot his name, Ocho Cinco. Ocho Cinco was running across the law several times because of cannabis use. You know what I mean? Several times. I mean, there are players who would not have had suspensions. Yes. There's players also, it might have affected, and maybe they were smoking because they felt the effects of it. I mean, listen, we can talk about this for a whole hour, but so I'm not going to, but we understand, we get this, man. Next subject I want to talk about is Draymond Green was talking trash again. We talked about him yesterday, talking about women in the sport. This morning, we talking about him again because I saw the news this morning that he was literally saying that the players in the NBA are too soft. Unfortunately or fortunately, depending on how you look at it, I agree with everything he said. I ain't gonna lie. I agree with everything he said because the NBA players today, to me, are entirely too soft because I'm old school and I don't realize it, but I love the way the NBA was. I don't like the way the NBA is now. I don't like the way the style is played. I don't like the way the game is played. I don't like the flopping. I don't like the nicking of the people and oh my God, the flopping, and I don't like that. I'm from the old school Celtics. Listen, Larry Bird, one of my favorite players, played with a bad back and fell on his back many times and balled out for a whole year. He should have quit. He said himself, Larry Bird said himself, Fig, I should have retired in 87. He played until 91 on an injured back that he played and got elbowed in, and he got injured on the court. Now, today's NBA player, he fell on his back. That's it. That same day. You know what I mean? So I agree with Draymond Green. I agree with him. I ain't mad at him. Yesterday I was mad at him. Today I'm mad at him. What you think?
It went as far as Larry Bird said. It was said about Larry Bird that he was just like when they did the Dream Team. He was just like almost like an honorary member because because of his back issues he really couldn't contribute that much as much as he normally would. Like he couldn't really participate as much as he wanted to because he had back issues. As far as it being, look, I'll always talking about, today's NBA is soft. I don't like the rule changes and stuff like that, but I don't want to be labeled as a hater. I think there's a fine line that we could merge, what we were used to seeing and the product that we have now. I think it's gone too far, to the soft side. I think you could bring it back a little bit, still make the game entertaining, and you can still make it safe. I would like them to bring back some portion of the defense, take out some of the flopping and stuff like that. I think if you penalize flopping like really seriously, I think it'll stop, not during the game, but like people watching the game after it's over. If you were seen to be flopping and stuff like that, if they penalize you enough, guys will literally stop. If it costs you, guys would stop doing it. So a happy medium between where we are and where we were, because we want to make it family friendly. We want to make it entertaining, you know what I mean? But we don't want to make it dangerous. So somewhere in between.
All right, Mir, what's your thoughts?
I think that, Fig is absolutely right. I think you are both right. I even think Draymond Green is right. I think the real, to me, the real crux of the situation is we don't obviously want to see the game go back to the way that, fortunately, unfortunately, some of the fouls were, especially in the 90s, mid to late 90s and so forth and so on. And the reason why I say that is because this one reason. Today's players seem to have played way more basketball than the players of yesteryear. Yesteryear, you only had a few select AAU programs and things like that, or you played in select things. These kids now play constantly, and I think, in all fairness, their bodies are not healing up the way that they could and they should because of the amount of basketball and sports that they're playing. So when your body doesn't heal like it's supposed to, you get these freak accidents like we did with Paul George a couple of years ago, and guys like AD and some of these other players who you see constantly have these injuries. But it's because their bodies aren't healing. If you play basketball almost 365 days out the year, when is your body healing? When does your body take a break? When do you have a moment for your body to heal like it's supposed to properly? So I think, in all fairness to today's players, that's part of the reason why the game has softened up, because you touch these guys and it could be in the slightest places, and this guy is out for weeks or months because of a sprained ankle, because of a pulled calf, or whatever the case may be. So I think they have to figure out how to scale back the amount of basketball so many of these kids are playing now, so that these kids heal properly. And I think that would allow us to not see so much of the foolishness that we see in the game today. So that's just me thinking personally.
So let me ask you this, Amir. Are you saying that the NBA players back in the 80s and 90s played less than the NBA players are playing now? Because if you're saying that, I could dispute with you, because those boys back then in the pros, they were playing back-to-backs. There was no time management.
No, I'm not disputing the amount of games that they're playing as pros. I'm saying that the kids today play the sport a lot more than we did when we were children. Do you understand what I'm saying? Like,
no, I get that. I get what you're saying. I don't know if I agree with that. I understand what you're saying. I don't know if I agree.
If you have kids in these AAU programs, because I have friends whose kids are now old enough to play in AAU. Oh, my kid got a tournament in North Carolina. My kid got a tournament next week in Texas. But we didn't have all that. We had 3 parks that you went to. You put the game down, you played your games, and you went home because your mother was like, "Look, bring your behind home. I need you at home, to do your chores and stuff like that." So I don't think that these kids are healing the way that they're supposed to, because there's too many games for them to play now. And they think, and this could be disputed as well, we have a bunch of kids now who think that the more games to play and the more tournaments that they're in, that's going to improve their game, as opposed to actually working on their game. We didn't have that. We had iron sharpening iron, which means you played against the best of the people in your neighborhood and the surrounding communities, and that was it. And then dudes knew that. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, you know what? You're making an absolutely great point. But the only thing that I can add on to that point is that when we were kids, the AAU tournaments and stuff was not a money thing. You know what I mean? It wasn't like a big money thing. Today, it's a big money thing. People find out, oh, it's a money grab, and now there's more AAU tournaments. There's more everything in it right now. So, I mean, I understand your point. I don't know what happened to Fig, but we're going to keep the show rolling.
You got it.
Yeah, so anyway, let's move on. The next thing I want to talk about is where was I at? Okay, the Nets, right? The Nets ended up not buying out DeAndre Jordan's contract despite his diminished role. DeAndre Jordan has said that, you know what, I'm upset. I want to play some ball. I want to be able to game out, ball out, everything else. But I'm going to be quiet. I'm going to sit here and everything else. I personally think that they should let him buy his contract out so he could play somewhere where he could feel he could still play and contribute to the team and everything else. When you hear the Nets are still holding on to him and shrinking down his minutes, which is shrinking down his pay because he has incentives and everything else for his contract. What's your thoughts?
I think it's so interesting in this day and age. Obviously, all of the great players want to play, no matter what the role is, no matter what age they are, and I think that that's a great thing. But I think where the line has to be drawn for some of these players is to something that you guys have touched on, throughout multiple shows that you guys have given, which is you have to be in the right situation in order for anybody to really even appreciate your skill set.
Right.
So if you're on a team like the Nets where, you seem to be stacked, so forth and so on, here's my thing. I do whatever I can when called upon. So this way, I now have a chip under my belt if, they advance on to, a championship and then win a championship, because now you could use that as leverage. I was on a championship team. I did contribute, good, bad, and indifferent, whether, people think that I should have had a bigger role or a better role. That really isn't up to you, because to your point, that has to do with the coach. That has to do with, the team and all that stuff. All you could do is be prepared to show up when called upon. And if you do that and you are prepared, then the rest is easy for you to be able to navigate. And I think that that's one of the caveats of, some of what today's players are up against. They think that, I'm not playing. Just when they call your number, be ready. Do your thing.
Yeah, but to me, it's like, if it's me and I'm playing ball and I like to play ball, I don't want to sit on the bench. I think that's his issue. You know what I mean? I'm sure you understand that too. Like, if you balling, you want to play.
You want to play, no question. But I think that unfortunately, in this particular circumstance, when you again put multiple players who can play the same position on your squad, and I've always said this is from an ego standpoint, and like I said, that doesn't mean somebody's as big or smaller, but from an ego standpoint, I get it. That's the ego talking. But the better part of you should be like, you know what? Here's the other side of that, Frank. If let's say you don't get the minutes that you feel you deserve, then you get a chance to allow your body to heal and be prepared for whatever the next team you go to. They can get that, they can get that energy from you. Do you understand what I'm saying? So to me, there's a duality to it, and it just depends on the mind frame and the mindset of the player. And I think that we have to, look at it. Hopefully, I hope the players start to look at it from that standpoint. That's just me speaking.
I get exactly what you're saying, because I was hoping he would be able to get his buyout because the Celtics need him back. You know what I'm saying?
And see that, and to your point, see even that, because you guys have talked about this as well. We'd like to see, the competition come back.
Right.
We don't really want to see teams stack. We don't. We want to see guys, leave it all out there on the floor. Because my thing is, once you've left it all out there on the floor, I can't be mad about you about whatever the outcome is. Right. But if you don't have the opportunity, like you said, to do that based off of the fact that you're sitting on somebody's bench and, you can't even contribute because they already got 16 people ahead of you, then what's the purpose of that? But that goes to show you, to your point about money and and all that stuff being involved in sports, and people looking at it from, well, we need the championships and this and that and the third, and we just going to make sure nobody else even has an opportunity. Okay, I guess. You know what I mean?
Right. Now, I guess the question that to go to that point is, are you excited even seeing the Nets like the way they are stacked? Because honestly, I mean, it was exciting with Kyrie and exciting with KD. It's not exciting with Kyrie to me. I'm not a Net. Maybe it's because I'm not a Nets fan. It's not exciting to me. Kyrie, Harden, KD, Griffin, LaMarcus Aldridge. You know what I mean? It's not exciting to see all these players on a stacked team like that. What's your thoughts?
You know what? It's interesting. I've come from a weird space in duality, and this only for this reason, Frank. I'm not sure how often you had the opportunity to come to New York and experience some of the summer things that happen, like our Rucker tournament and so forth and so on. And if you're familiar with the Rucker tournament, that's an opportunity for all of our city legends and guys that came up in the AAU circuits and and high school greats and college greats to play. And it's always been fun to see those games and to see how those guys play out. Now, when we get to the pro level, again, like I said, honestly, we'd love to see competition, because in all fairness, you hope that the light in somebody else brings out the light in somebody else. The reason why I love the NCAA tournament is because we never know what new players we're going to see flourish in those, under those lights. As you get to the pro level, you've already kind of established yourself. You're already who you are for the most part. And, we kind of know what your game is. For the Nets to be as stacked as they are, my thing is, I'm curious to see whether or not, to what we were just discussing, a moment ago, how those egos either do or don't play together, because you got to get those egos in order, because that's really going to be their challenge. It's not going to be the fact that these guys can or cannot play. It's going to be whether or not I can sit here and go, you know what, Frank is cooking, and I'm going to let Frank do what he's doing, and I'm just going to, again, wait for my opportunity. And I don't know if some of these players have that in them. So it's going to be interesting to see that,
Right. Well, I see Fig is back. I'm waiting for him to come back to the scene. But so here, I'm gonna keep.
Okay.
And I'm gonna say.
I'll be there. Trust me when I tell you, I will be there.
Hold on. Let me go on. Let me go to the next thing and say that with Golden State, they ended up picking up Gary Payton Jr. to a 10-day contract. When you hear Golden State picked up Gary Payton Jr. to a 10-day contract, what was your thoughts?
You know what? I'm happy that Golden State is, obviously also trying to make some moves and bring that franchise back to, its glory. It's necessary. There's the side chatter. I'm sure because of the research that you do, that supposedly LeBron is trying to lure Steph Curry to the Lakers and blah 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 blah. So hopefully, if they get a nice situation for him there, he'll hopefully stay there, and he'll hopefully give us that ability to cheer and root for somebody else, and to feel like there's other pieces. Nothing is a given, and we can now see like I said, some more competitiveness as far as the league is concerned, because that's all we really want. When I watch the playoffs, forget the regular season, but when you get to playoff time, I want to see it all left out on the floor by every player on every roster. I don't want to see just the superstars doing their thing. I want to see the 12th dude on the bench. If he gets a moment to shine, I want to see him get in there, dive for loose balls,
right,
make a block, grab a rebound, necessary rebound, because all of it contributes to the success of the team. It's not just the superstars. And I think far too often we put the onus on the superstars, and we forget that there's a whole bunch of other guys on this team that's getting paychecks too. What are you doing? What's your part?
There's a 15-man roster on every NBA team. 15-man on every NBA team, bro. Fig, what's your thoughts about Golden State signing Gary Payton Jr. to a 10-day contract?
Man, listen. I think it's good. You know what I mean? They looking for talent, I think, to surround their stars with, like Steph and Clay when Clay finally comes back. And Golden State has been good, and even before they signed Kevin Durant as a free agent coming from OKC. They had a great team. They did a great job at drafting players. They did a great job as hiring on veterans. You know what I mean, to come in and play off the bench. They had they had Spates, they had Barbosa. You know what I mean. Other players that were good on other teams, but had reached that point in their career where they weren't stars anymore, but they were actually role players. And I think like what Amir said, we forget that role players are important. Although you're not the star of the team, but role players make a major contribution to winning a championship. No team has ever won a championship with just the 5 starters on the floor. And I think these superstar players teaming up the way that they have been is diminishing the importance of your bench, because people only look at starters like starters could do it by themselves. And that's not the case. You can't just do it with stars. You need bench players to come in and give you significant minutes in order to be able to, create a winning culture, if you will.
So I can say one thing. I don't think there's ever been an NBA team that's ever won an NBA championship without a strong bench. I don't think it's ever happened. I mean, we could dispute that. But Fig, you want to jump into
Golden State did it the first year when they got their first championship.
I mean, everybody did. Yeah, everybody did.
Right.
Fig, you ready to jump into the top dogs, and then we can come back with Amir?
Let's do it.
We can jump into talking to Amir about a couple other things with the NFL and start out with him first. But Fig, jump into the top dogs, bro. Let's go ahead.
Man, listen, my first top dog. Listen, if you love top dogs, this is mine because hey, it is what it is. And when I get done, you can tell me yours. My first top dog of the week, ladies and gentlemen, is I went college. I went to the NCAA tournament, and I gave it to my man Jared Butler, man, because this kid balled out in the NCAA tournament. 22 points, 3 rebounds, 7 assists. Man amongst boys. Baylor dominated Gonzaga from the beginning tip to the end of the game, winning 86-70. I'm looking forward to seeing this kid in the NBA. My man Jared Butler just looked like a man amongst boys. Second on my list, Kyrie Irving did the damn thing, man. Dropped 40 points, 2 rebounds, 7 assists, and he was the catalyst in the Nets winning over the New York Knicks, who were leading the whole game, and that was the same game. And James Harden had to go out at the beginning with a hamstring. Kyrie Irving just did the damn thing. We know that Kyrie Irving's a dog. Number 3 on my list, Cool Hand Luke. You know my man Luka Doncic, man. God, that boy be in his bag sometime to be so young. I can't believe that he could do it like that. 31 points, 9 rebounds, 8 assists, being able to lead the Dallas Maverick over the Utah Jazz. Doncic in his bag. Number 4 on my list, I got to give it to my man, PG-13, making a comeback, man. Everybody talks so much about him, but that boy still got game, dropping 33.7 rebounds, 3 assists. The Clippers beating up on the Suns, who seem like they a contender this year, 113-103. My man PG-13 was in the bag. Last but not least, I know there's more, but this is my top 5. I got to give it to my man Donovan Mitchell. 37 points, 5 rebounds, 4 assists. The Jazz over the Portland Trailblazers, baby. And you know, they got Dame Dollar time, 122-103. Donovan Mitchell getting back to that playoff type, level, doing the damn thing, dropping them points. That's my top 5. What's yours?
Okay, now you know what I say every single week. He does his top 5. What do I say every single week?
Who did I leave out this week?
Bro, who didn't mention LA Dodgers, Shohei Ohtani? That brother, he pitched the first Japanese pitcher to hit in his first appearance at the plate. It's baseball, but he hit a home run, got a double, and pitched 5 pitches over 101 miles per hour, scored a double too. You ain't mention him. You ain't mention anybody from the Masters. This week was the Masters. But you know what, Fig? I'm gonna call your top dog.
Still going on though.
Hold on. Fig, I'm gonna call your top dogs the top NBA dogs because that's all you watch.
No. I would listen. You ain't say nothing earlier in the year when I was talking about football. It was okay, but now it's basketball. Now you got everybody else out there.
No. But no, because when you were doing football, that was the only thing at the time. NBA hadn't started. There was no other. Baseball hadn't started. There was no problem. But now
it's too early for baseball.
Bro, it's top dogs of the week, so you ain't sliding with that one. Amir, tell them. Don't make me be out here by myself, Amir.
Yeah, you know, it's so funny. Personally, and I think that the person we chose from Baylor, you know, was an obvious choice. Yeah. But I was gonna say you should have chose the whole Baylor team. The way that they balled out, the way that they showed up, it should have been the whole team. You know, in this particular instance, because those young men showed up and showed out in a way that. And, you know, early in the week when you guys talked about it, that's what you want to see. You want to see, to the point that we were making about even the NBA, is everybody making a contribution. Not the guys who came in and rotated in, they made sure they came in and made contributions, whether it was setting a pick, grabbing a rebound, locking somebody down, or at least, you know, challenging a shot. All of those things, again, are monumentous in any championship run. You know,
I can't argue with you, Amir. And you know why that's very important? Because nobody even talked about Baylor. Leading up to the game, nobody talked about Baylor. The only person they talked about Gonzaga, and they were talking about Gonzaga had an opportunity to go undefeated for the entire year, and Gonzaga got dominated.
Yeah, and that was the story. That was the story. But also, since we're throwing out things, let's also too mention the women's basketball too, because it wasn't Arizona won for the first time. You know what I mean?
Yes.
I mean, Arizona one, that was huge news. Arizona.
But you know what, Frank, honestly, I'm going to give you an honest answer. I thought about entering the women into this, but let me tell you something. It's something in my mind. It was like, can I put a woman on the top dogs? Because that was like, I was just like, would I be calling her a top BITCH to put her in my top dogs? And that's the only reason why I was like, can I do that?
Well, first of all, the top dogs, the way I spell it is I spell it like this. So we ain't even calling them D-O-W.
D-A-W, okay, all right.
That's how I'm doing. That's how I'm doing. So when we do that, that allows, you know, it takes the, you know, connotations out there. You know, and then let's be honest, the women should have been in here twice this week because the young rookie got the John Wooden Award. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I saw that. And I was going to add that's where I made my pause.
Not to mention, y'all had Dawn Staley and I forget the other young lady who also were the first to ever, you know, do that as, you know, African American women. So there's again, there's room obviously for growth and all of this stuff. And
Yeah.
as you guys continue to evolve this show, I'm sure we're gonna make sure we try to include as many people as possible. But it's tough to pick them because so much great stuff happens on a constant basis in every sport. To be honest with you,
and in 7 days. But honestly, I like giving Fig a hard time because no matter who he picks, I could always say, well, what about? What about, you know what I mean? That's the running gag. That's what, well, you didn't pick such and such. You didn't pick such, you know what I mean? That's the running gag because there's no way you can pick 5 people and keep it at 5. It's just impossible because from Friday to Friday, there's something that always happens with people every day. My thing is Fig now is just picking NBA players, bro. Bro, come on. I'm going to give you a hard time.
Not just NBA. I got a little college in there now. I got the college in there.
All right, I give you that. You got 1 college in the last 15 picks. You know what I'm saying? All right, man. Before we roll out here, I'm gonna give you guys 60 seconds because I want to talk about this one thing. Multiple teams right now in NFL, real fast. Multiple teams. I'm gonna start with you, Amir. Multiple teams right now are trying to trade for Teddy Bridgewater. We mentioned it yesterday that Teddy Bridgewater should be traded to somebody. From yesterday to today, Teddy Bridgewater has been contacted by other teams trying to say, Teddy, buy your contract out. Talk to the team so they can cut you because the reason why he hasn't been right now is because it's a $17 million hit. Nobody wants to pay the $17 million. Amir, who would you like to see Teddy Bridgewater play for this upcoming season? Because I got a team. Who you'd like to see?
Wow, that's a great question. I don't even know. The funny thing is, I get so engrossed in my 2 New York teams, the Giants and the Jets, that obviously you always want to see the 2 teams or the teams that you cheer for the most be in the hunt for everything. So that's a great question. I can't even, to be honest with you, tell you who I even think his skill set and what he brings to the table would make that team or put that team either over the hump or at least in the conversation. So I got to defer on this one because I'm not even 100% sure.
I'll pick my team.
Let me go.
All right, go ahead. You pick your team. Because we down in seconds. Go ahead. Who you pick?
Here we go. I got 2 teams. This is my top 2. I got Denver, the Denver Broncos, and San Francisco 49ers. I think those 2 teams have surrounding pieces around them where they may be able to do something.
You are a bona fide sucker because those are my 2 teams I was going to pick. Those are my exact 2 teams.
Great minds think alike, man. Great minds think alike.
Those are my exact 2 teams in that order I was going to pick because if Teddy Bridgewater lands on the Denver Broncos right now, bro, boom. And if he goes to the 49ers right now, he literally could probably take them at least to the NFC Championship. But anyway, y'all, that's the show. Amir, thank you for watching. Thank you for coming in, filling in for talent, man.
Always. No problem.
How they can follow you, bro.
I'm on Instagram, as y'all can see, at ARock Sealy. That's my Instagram handle. And you can catch me on Facebook at just plain old Amir Sealy. I ain't hiding from nobody. And I'm here every week, every day, hanging out with these guys on the best sports talk on anything.
All right.
I love you guys.
Thank you, man. Appreciate you. Fig, I'm still mad at you, so I'm gonna let you tell people how they can follow you. But I'm mad at
the media platforms and Comedian Fig. And Monday through Friday, baby, I'm right here on the box seats 1 to 2 p.m. The best damn sports show on TV. Ask your mama.
All right, y'all. That's the name of the show. It's called Box Seats. We're on the Humor Mill channel. Y'all, thanks for watching. We'll be back Monday. Channel will join us next week, starting Tuesday. Rodney Perry should be back too. We got some guests. Hopefully, they can stick to it this next week. We'll see what happens. You know what I mean? Because this time of the day, man, it's hard for some people. We'll figure it out. Y'all have a good weekend, man. We'll see y'all then. Take care. Peace.
Have a great weekend, gentlemen.